Good afternoon, everyone. It's great to see you. It's little afternoon time here in Bangkok, Thailand, and hot sunny day following one heck of a monsoon from the evening before. Lasted most of the night and into the wee hours of the morning, taking out power for at least a few hours. Uh, uh, I mean, it's not that unusual, for weather to be, epic or of cataclysmic proportions here. Um, we're fortunate in that we have some, seismological stability and things like that. Earthquakes tend to be kind of small and infrequent, and volcanoes. Most of the volcanoes in this region are dormant and have been for millions of years. But when it comes to weather patterns, jet streams, and all that kind of stuff, whoa, buckle up. It's a good time to be had by all. I'm up here on the eighth floor, which is a pretty good vantage point to witness just about anything happening in the region. And last night's storm being no exception. It took out, all the power, as far as I could see, which, technically wasn't far when you considered it was a solid wall of water, inches, outside my window. But nonetheless, flooding was spectacular. The trees got pummeled. I mean, we have very pliant wildlife here, banana trees, palm trees, coconut trees, things of that nature, things that are, nature devised to bend, not to break, for obvious reasons, right? But when I woke up this morning, it looked like Godzilla had taken a stroll through the neighborhood. I mean, everything was mashed down. I mean, it will all spring back, probably already has by this point in the day. The sun's rays are quite powerful here, and the foliage is very receptive and responsive to it. So I'm sure it's sprung back, if not in its entirety, for the most part by now. So um, anyway, why are we here? Why am I here? I mean, you're here because some idiot decided to make a video. But I'm here because I've been trying well, I've been confronted with a reality that is very difficult, for me to acknowledge, and that is, that the whole the green solution to our ecological and economic woes is and has been, since its inception, a complete farce. Um, at best, it has been a placebo of some kind to tide us over emotionally, to give the impression that we are making headway or actually taking action to counteract the deleterious effects of 8 billion humans, trouncing about on planet Earth, uh, have have had. Um, and the truth of the matter is that none of the ecologically sound, you know, principles that we've embraced are ecologically sound. Uh, Not even close. And, as I started to delve into things like, the truth behind solar energy, the truth behind wind power, the truth behind all of the currently accepted methods of counteracting our species' carbon footprint. Not the latest being biofuels, it's just one pyramid scheme on top of another, one lie on top of another, resulting in the big lie, which is that we can get ourselves out of this situation. I always try to find ways to remain hopeful about things. I try to see, I generally don't see the point in discussing negativity or focusing on negativity, but that's usually because there is, maybe obscure, but there is usually a positive aspect or dynamic that, with effort and time and education and focus, can counteract and eventually repair or alter in a positive way any given subject. Well, when it comes to the sustainability of our ecosphere, there is no positive dynamic to it. We've used carbon-based fuel sources for the simple reason that they are or have been plentiful, and they've been exceedingly efficient in producing energy yields. We measure that, I guess, in BTUs, so high output, high BTU output energy sources such as coal and petroleum, and things like that. Well, when we try to try to pivot away from that approach to energy production, we suddenly find ourselves faced with an unpleasant and inescapable reality. We are limited by both intellect and scope of technology from finding alternative sources of energy that can even remotely supplant the use of carbon-based fuels. Now, I want to talk predominantly about solar, wind, water power, and then the most recent development being biofuels. Not one of these methods produces as much energy as it takes to either construct the mechanisms, produce the materials for the mechanisms, that comes anywhere close to altering in any meaningful way the amounts of carbon-based fuel that we are currently committed to. Committed out of necessity. This is a big problem, The back to the earth movements are pipe dreams. I mean, there was no earth movement to go back to. There was a time when there were far fewer hominids on the face of the earth, but per capita we were producing waste from the moment we shot out of the womb. In fact, we were producing waste when we were in the womb. And as time has gone by, we've just found more efficient ways to produce waste. More volume, faster rate of production, and we're doing this on a uh, finite disposal mechanism. The Earth, there's only so many things you can burn. There's only so many things you can bury. There's you know there's very little that we can do to alter our carbon footprint. As I mentioned, producing solar panels and turbines and this wind turbines and the structures upon which they rest. Uh, and don't get me going on fossil fuel. On biofuel, because that's just a fancy word for trees and animal fat and plant oils and things that take incredible amounts of resources to produce and reproduce and remit such a small amount of energy in return as to be practically useless. The problems that are created by the green energy solutions that are currently being developed and marketed are far reaching and unsustainable. Solar panels have a shelf life of 10 to 20 years. I mean, put a brand new car out in the sun and leave it there unprotected for a decade and see what you have left. Windmills, right? Wind turbines. They produce energy when there's wind, but the amount of resources that go into producing those machines, those mechanisms themselves, the amount of concrete used, the amount of you know metals used, precious in some cases, also with a half life or a shelf life, and what becomes of these monstrosities once they are no longer productive in any way, right? They're left for dead. Football fields of solar panels that once powered a house or two or a small neighborhood, maybe if they were lucky. Wind turbines that never really contributed anything to the power grids that we all draw from. Just now sit dead and vibrating as they still attempt to turn in the wind. On land, that is now useless. How do we dispose of these albatrosses? And what do we do with them? You know, they don't work. There's just nothing about them that is productive unless you look at the amount of wealth that is generated by the companies that make them and politicians that promote their use, and the land developers who sell the land that these methods occupy. I mean, how many countries in the world have enough real estate to dedicate acre upon acre upon acre for solar panels and wind turbines and things of that nature? It's just not realistic. You could even were the Sahara to be a lifeless place, you could plaster it, from border to border with solar panels, and you would still have 10 to 20 years of power production that would be of marginal value at best, and in the end would leave just a tragic landscape. So um, here's the reality, at least the way I see it, and I'm pretty sure science bears this out. That's what's been keeping me up nights lately, is that we have no solutions to this. Okay, we have demands that for power that must be met. The only viable alternative at the moment that we have, it's entirely dependent upon technology and reduction in human error and fail-safe manners of storage for it to be a viable alternative, is the nuclear option. Try as we may, we can't seem to get a fusion reactor off the ground, and for myriad reasons. We may get there one day, but we need something that we can do today, and the only thing we have is fission. That's it. Fission can produce the tremendous amounts of energy with the least amount of resources that we have available to us at our current state of development. And we cannot stave off natural disasters, as Fukushima, so effectively demonstrated for us. And we also cannot factor out entirely human error, such as places like Chernobyl and 3 Mile Island demonstrated to us. So we're damned if we do and damned if we don't. Okay, we're not likely to find it within our hearts to cull the human population in any meaningful way, though admittedly wars do a pretty good job of it. But it's the effects on the carbon footprint are not measurable. In fact, I could make an argument that the activities of war make the situation even worse. So the reality is we have a finite amount of time here on this earth, and our extinction would appear to be inevitable. And the earth will do fine at some point in the distant future once we are removed from the equation. Will another type of intelligence rise up in the millennia to come, or in the ages, in future ages? Who knows? But one thing's become incredibly apparent to me, that any world, anywhere in the universe, that hosts a technologically capable intelligence will invariably get to this point, and there simply will not be enough time for the science fiction, technologically advanced civilizations that we imagine to exist throughout the universe, for them to actually happen. They will use up their resources. They will poison those that are most vital long before they use them up. And disease will get them, natural disasters of all stripes will befall them, and um, individuals will find ways to make lives for themselves as long as there's a biosphere in which to do it. But once that biosphere is extinguished, then that's it. There's no coming back from that. And, as far as inhabiting lifeless planetary bodies, I mean, come on. We couldn't make this work. And this is not it may sound like this is a stab at humankind, but it's not. It's inevitable, and it's unavoidable. We didn't have the ability to foresee where the propagation of the species would lead. So to take preemptive steps at a time when it would have mattered was not an option. It just wasn't available to us. And now we're here, and 8 billion or so strong, and growing by the day. And the Earth, however, is not. In fact, it's shrinking in all practical aspects. So, I'll be very interested to hear anything that you might have to say on this subject. If you want to offer something in the way of hope, by all means do so in the comments. I will respond to as many as I can. Now, I don't have a viewership to speak of, but people do meander by my channel now and again, and at some point, one of these things is going to take hold, and it's going to generate some debate and some discussion, which is what we need to be doing right now. And if nothing else, we need to hang together and just support each other as long as we can. Well, it goes without saying, I love you all, and even my enemies, I don't have time for hatred and things of that nature and resentment. I just don't. You will either get me or you won't. You will either agree or you won't. And I'm not here to tell you how to live or how to think or what to do. I'm just here pointing out what I see as inescapable realities. Sometimes they're going to be, not all my videos will be negative, but right now there's a lot of things that we just have to come to terms with and have to face, and recognize that our time here is finite, and let's try to make it as pleasant as we can for each other, and stop exploiting each other, because in the end we will face the same demise. And we came into the world as a species, and we will go out as a species, and that's just the way it is. The natural processes, the physical world in which we live has no regard for our individual differences. So, which, by the way, are perceptions, because there really are no differences. People are people. You put them in a situation with the same stimuli, the same pressures, and they will react in similar fashions, all other things being equal. So, for those of you who think that one skin color has an advantage over another, or one ancestry has an advantage over another, You're mistaken. You're mistaken. Uh, and I've traveled the world to make sure that I was right in that, and I am. I have put my money where my mouth is, and gone out and found out for myself that humans are humans, no matter where they are, no matter what they believe, no matter what they eat, no matter who they sleep with, no matter what they do. All right, peace, my brothers and sisters, and I look forward to seeing you again in an upcoming video. Cheers.